Alright, what's up guys? New deck profile. We are doing the Dream Mirror deck. One of the best artworks in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! It actually just got a new support card, which is the Chaos Daedalus. I don't know if most of you guys have seen this card, but basically it is a card that allows you to, basically you can summon it by banishing a light and dark, which your whole deck is essentially light and darks that put themselves in the graveyard very effectively. But basically, you banish a light and a dark to summon it, and then it gives targeting protection to lights and darks, which is very important because your Dream Mirrors are all lights and darks, so now you can't get Veilored, you can't get, what's the other thing, Veilored, Impermanence, like those are some of the important ones, but basically you can't be targeted, lights and darks. But on top of that, you can actually, for every field spell on the field, you can, during your turn, banish cards equal to that the amount that you have there, or you and your opponent have, basically. But this card actually works really well with one of the cards, the Dream Mirror cards, which is Dream Mirror Hypnagogia. Because this card basically allows you to put a field spell, the Dream Mirror field spell, on your side of the field, and then Dream Mirror field spell on your opponent's side of the field. So it basically guarantees this card's usability. So you can put 2 field spells up, and then you can summon this, and then your opponent is basically screwed because you're banishing 2 cards every time it's your turn with this card, and you have protection. Oh yeah, incredible card. But let's get started with our deck profile here. First of all, we are playing 3 copies, without a doubt, of Icos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. This is probably the best card within the archetype. It searches the entire archetype. So basically, all of the Dream Mirrors have a common theme. The light Dream Mirrors need the dark Dream Mirror, in order to function. So basically, if you have the dark Dream Mirror field spell on the field and the light Dream Mirror monster, you contribute a light Dream Mirror monster in order to special summon its dark counter type. So in this case, you can special summon Mara with the level 1. So their counter type will always be the same level as them. But basically, it's not that complicated once you actually start playing it. But when these cards are summoned off of Dream Mirror effects, you get to activate their secondary effect. So this card's secondary effect is the best in the archetype. It searches any card in the archetype. So when this card is special summoned by a Dream Mirror card, it can basically search everything, which is really, really good. Next, we play 3 copies of Icos, the Dream Mirror Mara. This is the counter type, the counter to the last one I just showed. This is the dark version of her. So she goes through mirror, she becomes dark, which is really cool. But basically, this card, when it's special, same situation. But in this case, if you have the light mirror, you contribute this dark version and then special summon the light level 1 monster. So basically, they special summon each other depending on which field spell you have by attributing themselves. And this card, when it's special summon, allows you to special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand, which is, again, pretty useful because they're special. If you special summon them by a Dream Mirror effect, you get to activate their card. So this card triggers, summoning effects, and the first one basically searches. They're both very, very good. You play these definitely, without a doubt, 3, non-controversial, not even a question. Probably the best 2 in the deck. Then we play some of the new ones. This is the dogs now. And this is Phantaos, the Dream Mirror Fiend, or friend in this case. But basically, this card is another decent card. It allows you to, when it's special summoned, it allows you to summon a level 8 or lower Dream Mirror monster from your graveyard. It basically prevents you from summoning just the fusion monster, but you can summon anything else from the graveyard. But it offers nice recursion. Then we play the Dream Mirror Foe as another level 4. We play 2 of the level 4s of each of them because the level 4s are they're easy to summon, so they're not bricks in the hand. But basically, the Dream Mirror Foe allows you just when it's special summon, it allows you to attack directly. It's like the worst effect out of all of them. You kind of need to play it because they're low levels. We play 1 Morpheus. When this card's special summoned off the Dream Mirrors, it allows you to basically it can't be destroyed by card effects, so it gives it self protection. And then we've got Morpheus, the Dream Mirror Black Knight. When this card is special summoned off of a Dream Mirror card, it lets you pop an opponent's card, which is pretty useful. So those are all of the Dream Mirror monsters we play in the deck. Next we play the Chaos, the Chaos cards. Play one, or I'm sorry, not one. One collector's rare, but 2 copies of Daedalus. From testing, I found that 2 is probably the better ratio. You can definitely, without a doubt, bump it up to 3. It's your life. Do whatever you want. But I've just found that having 2 is the best. Like I've said at the beginning of this video, it gives you protection, and it lets you banish cards up to the number of field spells on the field, which you can actually control. You will either have 1 or 2 on the field. So you're always banishing cards. It's very, very good. 1 Chaos Creator. This card is super underrated. It's so good. Basically, it lets you target 3 monsters that are banished, and it's from your graveyard, or I mean, not your banish pile or your opponent's banish pile. And then basically you pick one of those banished cards, special summon it, and then the other ones you just shuffle back into the deck, which is incredibly useful because you can actually special summon things like this. Like once you summon this appropriately, you can actually target this in the banish pile along with 2 other cards and special summon them. Or because you're basically banishing a lot of monsters, you can actually special summon a lot of your Dream Mirror monsters back, which is very useful. Or and then the other effect is that not only do you like special summon one, but you actually put the others back into the deck. So sometimes you can target like a Dream Mirror Sprite and a Mara and then another Dream Mirror Sprite, because you will go through these very quickly. You can target these 3, choose to actually special summon this one. You special summon this one, then you put these 2 back in the deck, so now that they're live again. Then you summon this, summon a monster, and then you tribute that one in order to use this one to search. So it's actually very, very useful overall, because it allows you to recycle a lot of your Dream Mirror monsters. So definitely it's one of my favorites. Then we play 1 copy of Black Luster Soldier out of the beginning. We need a light also. It's not just darks. We need a light for our new searching card. So we do have to play at least 1 light monster. It cannot be normal summoner set. So that's our 1 there. Then we play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma. And of course the 1 driver. I actually decided to play these in the deck because you want to put as many light monsters into the graveyard as possible. You want to put as many light or dark monsters in the graveyard as fast as possible, so you can do some of your chaos plays. But not only that, this is good for when you have to go second. Most of the time you want to go first. But this is a very good card within this deck because you have like Icos, the Dream Mirror Sprite, for example. This card tributes itself for cost. So you tribute this for cost, and then your field is empty of monsters. So then if your opponent, like, let's say you tribute this for cost to summon Mara, and your opponent activates Ash Blossom, your field is free of monsters. You can special summon this, and then special summon Psyframe Driver. You negate that effect, destroy the Ash Blossom, and then you get to resolve your Mara, your Sprite in order to summon Mara, and now you have all of this on the field. And you got to negate, which is very, very useful. But yeah, a lot of the monsters tribute for cost, so they won't be on the field. And then again, this card is very good going second overall. And it does put light monsters in the graveyard, so a lot of your chaos plays are a lot more, I guess, reasonable. They're a lot more doable. You can actually just replace these with effect veilers if you wanted to. That's what I was doing before in testing, but as I got further into it, I actually liked the Psyframe package a lot more. Now for the spell cards, you play 3 copies of Dream Mirror of Joy. This card is basically a field spell that basically enables a ton of your plays. You need them. You need the field spell in order to play this deck. Like, without the field spell, this deck is, and I'm not even joking with you, completely just garbage, trash. You literally cannot, like, if you have a hand without a field spell, you have an unplayable hand. You cannot, you really, I'm not even joking, you cannot do anything. Sometimes, even if you draw the best cards, which are the level 1s, and you have no field spell, you cannot do anything. You need the field spell. So, this is one of the field spells. This is the light field spell. You can basically, it has multiple effects. You can banish this during the end phase in order to activate the dark one. And then the dark one you can banish again in order to activate another dark one. That way you get, 2 of them basically banished in the graveyard, which enables another card. But basically, yeah, it can basically trade itself out during either player's end phase, and that is a once per turn effect. On top of that, if this one basically allows you to have protection, it gives you some protection. It allows you to target the highest leveled Dream Mirror card, which is, kind of annoying. Basically, your opponent can only target the one with the highest level for attacks and for just targeting. But most of the time, you'll only have like 1 to 2 anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. So that effect is really not that great, but the trading out during the end phase is really what you want. Then we have the Dream Mirror of Terror. Again, this enables other plays, and it can banish itself during the end phase to activate the light one. But this one, every time your opponent special summons, they take 300. That effect isn't like the best effect, but I most of the time I actually want to keep this one on the field during my opponent's turn, simply because it's just inflicting life points is better than your kind of BS protection. So yeah, this one's better because it basically puts a clock on them. So if they have one of those decks where they summon a lot, they have to wrap it up, especially if you've done some damage already. Then we play one copy of Terraforming. As I've said before, you absolutely need to see the field spells. Without them, you can't play. And unfortunately, you can't actually play Set Rotation. I really would. Set Rotation just seems like the best card ever for this. But the problem with Set Rotation is if your opponent doesn't activate that field spell, you actually cannot activate any more field spells, and you're locked out of your own game. Then we play one of the newer cards, Dream Mirror Phantasms. This card lets you search any monster in the archetype. And then on top of that, it allows you to basically, depending on which Dream Mirror is on the field, your opponent loses attack points or you gain attack points. So sometimes you'll have both, so that's really good. We have Dream Mirror of Chaos. This is the fusion spell for this deck. Again, very searchable. This card lets you summon a Dream Mirror fusion monster, and basically if you have the Dark Dream Mirror, you can... First of all, it's a quick play, so just on base you can use monsters on the field, but if you control the Dark Dream Mirror, you can banish cards from your graveyard as cost for the fusion summon, or if you have the light one, you can use cards from your hand. But either way, this it lets you basically fusion summon during your turn or during your opponent's turn, and then again it has additional benefits depending on which field spell is up. But sometimes when both are up, you can use anything. Alright, so now we've got one of the new cards again, Chaos Space. This card is super sick. It allows you to discard either a light or dark monster, and then you can basically add the opposite to your hand. So if you discard a light, you can add a dark. If you discard a dark, you can add a light. The monster that you add has to be a monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So basically it's going to be our Chaos monsters that I showed you, stuff like Daedalus, stuff like Blackluster Soldier, the Chaos Creator, stuff like that. It has to be cards like that. It can't just be anything. But they have to be, and they have to be level 1 through 8. And not 4 through 8. But that's its first effect. Its second effect is even crazier. You can banish this out of the graveyard. You can banish this from your graveyard, and then you can add back from your banish pile a monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So basically you can add all of the ones I just said, the Chaos Creator, the Daedalus, and the Blackluster Soldier, but you can also add any card from your extra deck that you banish with Pot of Extravagance. So like let's say you banish this with Pot of Extravagance, and you don't have any more copies in the extra deck, you can banish Chaos Space out of your graveyard and then put this back in your extra deck, even if it is face down. So that is very, very useful. It has great synergy with the deck overall. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance, one of which is the new rarity, very fancy. But yeah, you don't really draw in this deck at all. You just search, so it's a no-brainer. It's a free draw, and on top of that, you can actually recover a lot of the resources in this particular variant. Then we play 1 copy of Reasoning. Reasoning, I learned over testing, is just extremely good for this deck. You play tons of different levels, and if you hit one of the Chaos monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set, you just keep going anyway. So you end up filling your graveyard with a bunch of stuff, and then on top of that, all of your levels are so varied that you end up hitting something you need. So this card is just without a doubt one of the better ones. Then we play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. This card you can actually just side out if you want. I mean, you can side if you want to, if you don't want to play it in the main deck. But I actually find that it's useful in multiple ways in this deck. Number one, because it is good for going second, and it's good as an interruption just to set it. But also, you can actually use this within the archetype, because the archetype actually does have a fusion monster. All you have to do is just have have 2 Dream Mirror cards, and if you ever do get lucky and play the mirror match, it's going to be the most disgusting mirror match. It's like a Dream Mirror match. It's going to be hell on earth for both of you, honestly, if you have Super Poly. Then we play the next card, mandatory 3 of Dream Mirror Hypa Na Goi Gagia. But basically this card is like set rotation, but better. It allows you to put both Dream Mirror field spells onto the field on your opponent's side of the field and on your side of the field. So it actually sort of like forces a mirror match. So you give, basically 2 field spells to both, field spells to both of you, which is very useful because now you can use all of the different range of Dream Mirror effects. You don't have to use the light ones or the dark ones. You can use all of them because they're both on the field, and it gives Daedalus 2 banishes. And it enables a lot of different plays in the deck. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. You want to get to it as soon as possible. You have to search it off of Sprite, or you can just draw it, like hard draw it. But basically with this card and Terraforming and the field spells, we're basically playing 10 copies of the field spells. Because again, without the field spells, this deck is literally useless. Like, you cannot do anything. And I don't know if I mentioned before, but these effects actually can be activated during your opponent's turn, in addition to yours, which is pretty useful. 2 copies of Dream Mirror Fantasy. When this deck came out, this was actually the best card in the whole deck. This card allows you to shuffle 2 of your banished Dream Mirror field spells into the deck, and then you can banish a card non-targeting on your opponent that your opponent controls, which is very useful. Because it recycles the field spells. But on top of that, you can banish this out of the graveyard to protect a Dream Mirror monster. And then we've got the Dream Mirror Counter Trap. This card lets you, based on which mirror is on the field, you can actually negate a spell or trap card activation, or you can negate a summon. So either way, it's pretty useful. But yeah, it's a searchable counter trap. I mean, you can't say no. Then we've got the extra deck. We play 2 copies of the boss monster, which is the Dream Mirror. Basically, this is the big girl. The big Dream Mirror girl. When your monster is tributed, you can pop a card. That's one effect. And then the second effect is if this card is destroyed, you can special summon a Dream Mirror card monster from the graveyard. 2 useful effects, and it actually doubles as a super poly target. Next, we are playing 1 copy of Diplexer Chimera for the Super Poly, 1 copy of Nether Soul Dragon. These are all just Super Poly targets. World Chalice, 1 Borreload Furious Dragon, Predaplan Gigantic Head, 2 Starving Venom Fusion Dragons, 1 Borreload Dragon, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, and I think I left the rest somewhere else. But yeah, I don't know where I left them now. They just died. That's 13. But you play 2 more, basically, either Super Poly targets or 2 Link monsters that are generic. But that's basically it. Hope you enjoy this deck profile. I'm very excited about this deck. You can even play around with more different types of Chaos monsters. You can play around like Chaos Emperor Dragon, stuff like that. There's a ton of different ones that have just sort of spiraled onto the horizon. You can play some of the level 4s if you're really excited about it. You can play the level 4, the small dragons. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and if you did, please subscribe and have a terrific day.